Welcome to the Pet Loss Journals podcast. I am your host Louise. This podcast is all about the reality and impact pet loss has on our lives, and I will be discussing my personal journey through pet loss. So if you are struggling on your own pet loss journey, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to episode 17. Today's journal entry is going to be from the 31st of October 2020. A very significant date for me personally. You will find out very, very soon when I begin the journal entry. Thank you all for your kind words from last week's episode regarding the anniversaries of my dogs. It means so much to me to hear and read your comments. It really does. So thank you so much. This week's journal entry is a long one. Generally, I read out short snippets, but this one is a long one due to the significance of the date and it being quite close to their first anniversary of both of their deaths. So I guess there will be a lot to unpack, and I hope that sharing this journal entry helps you to feel validated within your own grief journey at the minute with whatever companion animal you have had in your life that you have lost. So I won't waste any further time. I will get straight into this week's journal entry. Journal entry 31st of October 2020. Happy birthday, Ozzy. 10 today. Last Thursday was the dog's 1 year anniversary, and I took annual leave last Thursday to this Tuesday. So did Steve. Steve was due to call up to me Tuesday morning. So I was excited as I didn't want to go through their anniversary on my own. We were FaceTiming Wednesday evening and I was just putting my dinner in the microwave when the doorbell rang, and there he was. I felt my heart explode. He surprised me. Said he didn't want me to be alone. All along I was more focused on just getting through the 22nd and 23rd of October. I wasn't even thinking about doing something nice to remember the dogs. But Steve had thought of all of that, and that completely amazed me. I guess I was so consumed with remembering the events of that traumatic day and days that I couldn't see past it. Steve bought biodegradable lanterns and we decided to drive up to their favourite beach Thursday evening. We put on our ocean suits as it was cold and headed down to the beach for a walk. We sat on a bench and talked for a while until it was starting to get dark. We let off 3 lanterns and one of them flew high up into the sky. I felt because they were buried together that one lantern was because their 2 souls were combined. We sat on the sand dunes and he held me while I cried. We listened to the beautiful sounds of the waves and in the moonlit sky. I felt at peace in this place. He told me he feels like he knew the dogs so well from learning about them through me and me showing him my training videos, which took me a full year to watch, but I'm glad I did. Videos are difficult. Seeing their movements and behaviours, wishing they were alive again. Some of my family didn't really acknowledge the anniversary, which really hurt. My anxiety has been bad the last 9 days, coming in waves, of course. a feeling of panic, shortness of breath, tight chest. I try to go out for a walk straight away when I feel it coming on. It does help, but I still cry and struggle to slow my breathing. I would love to do more meditation, but need more motivation to do it. And as my anxiety increases, I would love for meditation to be a coping strategy. I'll get there. I think Oz and Moose would have been proud of me over the last year. I got out and about as much as I could. I fell in love. I got a new car. The love they always gave me is still in my heart. It's still there. I miss them every single day. It still aches, but life without them is more manageable now. And I'm starting to remember fun times. I do still get vivid flashbacks, but that's trauma for you, I suppose. I have so much love to give in my heart, I know that. That completes my journal entry for this week's episode. As you can tell, it was a really important date, the 31st of October, Ozzy's birthday, his heavenly birthday. There's one point that I really want to start with. There is a lot to unpack in this journal entry, but something that I want to start with is the fact that I wrote, some of my family didn't really acknowledge the anniversary, which hurt. This sentence really sticks out for me in this journal entry. To no fault of their own. Some people just don't remember, some people forget. That's the way life goes. That is just the way life goes. But what I want to really highlight here is whether you yourself are grieving your beloved pet, or whether you are listening and somebody close to you is grieving their beloved pet, please reach out. Reach out to that person. If you see a post on their social media remembering their pet, if you have it in your calendar that you know that this is the date, this is the anniversary date, please, even a text message, even to reach out to them. It can be absolutely huge to that person, can mean absolutely everything. Because some people are so alone during anniversaries that not even one person remembers or acknowledges the anniversary of the death of their pet, and that can be absolutely devastating for so many people. It can be so painful and hurtful to go through that. So if you are experiencing the death of a pet and it's coming up to your pet's anniversary, please, I urge you to mention this, to talk about this, not to bury it down, not to live in those feelings of dread that this date is coming, but to be sure to vocalise that and share that with the ones closest to you, and indeed your family, relatives, friends, because people get busy in life, and it's no excuse, of course, don't get me wrong. If people are close to you, they should remember these dates. But sometimes life gets in the way for so many people. People are going through their own struggles and challenges. And sometimes it just runs out of their head and they honestly don't remember. So I would urge you to speak about it, to speak to your friends, partner, family, and say, I really want to do something to acknowledge, to remember, to memorialise my pet's death this year. It's coming up to their anniversary on such and such a date. Would you like to go for a walk? Would you like to go for a meal? Would you like to do something fun? Would you like to come with me to this certain place? Whatever that may be, to want to share that with a person close to you in your life. Even if you want to do something on your own, it's really, really helpful and supportive to have somebody with you. I have found that on year 4 now, that having somebody with me for that day, it's so comforting, it's so special, it's just amazing. You can speak about your feelings with that person, you can be vulnerable, you can receive comfort via a hug. A hug can just be an incredible source of comfort at a really, really difficult time. I do urge you to speak about your upcoming pet's anniversary, to say, I would love to do something to that person that's close to you in your life. Would you like to do this with me? It could be something really small. It could be something like a trip. It could be a walk. It could be going anywhere that your pet loved, doing something that your pet really loved to do. The list is endless, really. But acknowledging it and not pushing it down and not ignoring it and not dreading that day is something that it can be so damaging while you're trying to recover from grief, especially those dates that are challenging, that are hard. Of course they're painful, but to acknowledge the day, to celebrate the day, and to do something that makes you feel comfort, to make you feel good. And of course it's going to be sad, it's going to be filled with sadness, but if you have somebody by your side that you're really close to on that particular day, it can be such a comfort. It can be so healing to have someone with you. There's a lot of other items to unpack from the journal entry because there was a lot to speak about, and I speak about in detail about my really bad anxiety for 9 days, for that last 9 days approaching his birthday, Ozzy's birthday, and in particular I mentioned about the feelings of panic, the shortness of breath, the tightness in my chest. These were all really regular symptoms of my anxiety in and around that time. It was just something that I lived with. It was just an everyday thing. Trying to control my breathing, to slow down my breathing, because if you're crying intensely, obviously it's really hard to slow your breathing down. So that was something that was difficult. But what were the good things from this journal entry was the fact that I had somebody in my life that I could say, I really want to mark their anniversary by doing something nice. I didn't know what that was. I didn't even know that I was going to go to their favourite beach. I had no plan made. I was just probably trying to avoid it, thinking about it. But Steve had planned something so wonderful, and he was great. He was a great source of comfort to me and support. He was so supportive. The lines of communication were always open with regards speaking about my feelings surrounding the anniversary. And by letting one of these lanterns up into the sky when it was dark, it was surreal. It was wonderful. It was extremely emotional. Just the whole thought pattern of them not being there for the last year, that a year had gone by. How did I survive a year without my dogs? Week after week, how did I get through that? Asking myself all of these questions, but then a wave of a feeling came over me that they were with me all along. Like, I keep seeing the robins in my garden, and there have always been signs there that their energies are still around, that they are still providing me with strength to carry on, to get up every morning, continue working, and work through that painful grief that I was going through. That's why I keep mentioning that having someone by your side supporting you during those really difficult special days, like the anniversaries, the birthdays, the day that your pet came into your life even. This was really something also that I wanted to mention, that it took me a full year to watch, but I'm glad I did. The videos are difficult. Seeing their movements and behaviours, wishing they were alive again. And that is something so vivid and so real that so many of my clients speak about, that they getting to that stage. It can vary for everybody, the length of time that it takes to be able to watch, in particular, to be able to watch videos back. Can be extremely difficult and challenging to get to that stage. It took me a year, but that's individual to my experience. That is definitely not to say that it will take anybody else a year. It's so different for everybody. But I did feel that having somebody with me when I did that for the first time was supportive as well. So looking at these videos with somebody who was also looking at them with me, who was holding space for me, who was there to listen if I needed to talk about any aspect of these videos, which happened, and it was really helpful. Also, I always had done something lovely for Ozzy on his birthday, and it was just strange that this was the first year that he wasn't here, and that I didn't get to shower him with love and attention and buy him silly little gifts and give him lots of treats and bring him to all his favourite places and absolutely wear him out with fun on his birthday. And of course it was Halloween also, because he was a Halloween pooch, and funnily enough was petrified of fireworks. And I do remember, which is something that I hadn't written in this journal entry, but it's just come up in my mind now that I would love to share, that one of my last memories of Ozzy was, I think, several days before he passed away. People in my local area had been letting off fireworks way ahead of probably a week and a half ahead of Halloween, and Ozzy came running up to my bedroom late at night after he heard these fireworks going off, and he was absolutely petrified. He was shivering, shaking. I got down on the floor with him on a soft rug that I had in my room, and I just held him, and all he wanted was to bury his little head in under my arm, and he just needed that comfort. I was so worried about him. I was talking to him gently, and I was reassuring him, and I was holding him and rubbing him, and that memory, because it was so close to his death, is something now that I cherish in my heart so deeply. I cherish it so much. I know that you can hear that in my voice, because I'm visualising it right now as I'm telling you all about it. It was such a special moment. Obviously, he was extremely scared, but the more that I comforted him and reassured him and stayed with him, I could see it just dissipating. He was just becoming less afraid, and he wasn't shaking as much, and he was becoming less anxious. And I stayed with him for such a long time that night, until the fireworks had stopped. And it's just so powerful to see that your companion animals run to you when they feel unsafe, and They search out comfort from you, and they seek that love and attention and comfort and support. And that was what was so incredibly meaningful to me at the time. That he wanted to be with me, that he wanted me to help him to feel secure and safe. And that's all I ever wanted to do my whole life for him. While he was with me in my life, was for him to feel that way, that he knew that he could rely on me to help him to feel safe and supported and comfortable. I'm glad that I actually shared that memory with you. It was unexpected for me that that came up, but it was really important to share also. And I love speaking about that memory, and it's not painful for me to speak about that now. It was a couple of years ago, but not now. And I hope that that can bring something up, bring some memories up for you that were really special with your pet, and something that may pop up in your memory. That journal on it, write that down. Basically write down how you felt in that experience and how you thought that your pet felt. What benefits did your pet feel from an experience similar to that? It's really important to reflect on those kinds of memories, and be that if we cry while we're doing it, that's okay. That is perfectly okay. There is often a question that many of my clients ask themselves, and it's why am I crying so much? When will this stop? Should I be crying less? Should I be crying more? How long am I going to regularly, continuously cry for? Is there a set limit? There is no set limit. Asking yourself those questions, it causes anxiety, and overanalyzing why this and how long about the crying is just, that's not going to be helpful while you're trying to process all of these painful experiences and grief events that have happened. And there is no set time limit to how much time it takes to stop crying. Everybody is different, and crying essentially is releasing emotional energy. That is what crying is doing. Crying is helping you to process the grief that you are going through. Not crying or suppressing that is not helping you to process what has happened. It's not helping you to process the grief. And of course, people grieve in different ways. Not everybody cries a lot. Other people have a lot of anger. Other people have a lot of guilt and shame and all of these, so many different emotions that can be released in so many different ways. Be that exercise, be that screaming into a pillow, be that dance. There's so many ways that people can release emotional energy other than crying. But crying is most common in my experience, and crying is a universal way that people can release that built up suppressed emotion that are attached to major grief and loss events in life. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Of course, I welcome any comments, any feedback. Send me an email if you would like to share any thoughts or any suggestions for future bonus episodes. I would love to hear your suggestions. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this week's episode. Remember, your pet loss grief is real, and it is so valid. Please be gentle on yourself. Until next time, take care.